So good morning and welcome to Holly Zhou from Logitech. So Holly, thank you for coming to our Teams Rooms podcast room. What do you think?
It's quite a showing. I mean, I haven't had time to walk around the entire GITEX booth. There are so many different halls and so many incredible innovations, but this is pretty awesome.
Sweet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when the guys set this up, obviously I knew a little bit of what was coming, but you never really know what the end result's going to look like, and it's really quite impressive. I feel a little bit Joe Rogan when I'm sat here, but let's not get above myself, right? I don't have that kind of following.
You can aspire. You can aspire.
We have to aspire, definitely, for sure. So, Holly, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. We have a little bit of time to enjoy with you, but so I'll get straight to it. First of all, for those that aren't familiar with who you are, where you work, what you do, can you just give us a very brief introduction to who you are, what your world is generally?
Yeah, great. I'm really glad to be here. First of all, thanks for having me. My first time in Dubai, my first time at GITEX Global, this incredibly large, the biggest tech and innovation show around the world. And I'm here on behalf of Logitech for Business. I lead our team Workspace Solutions product marketing team, which is all just a bunch of fancy fluff to say when we've got new products and solutions that help people collaborate better in the office. Me and my team help tell the stories of those solutions and how they help people better collaborate and connect. So that's what I do.
Fantastic. Which is really what we're all about in Teams Rooms, right? It's about that connection, that collaboration. Teams in general, right? Let's be honest. Our reason for existing is the collaboration space and modern workplace. So what are Logitech doing at GITEX that is, let's say, a little bit interesting? What have you got? Give me some secrets. That's what I want. What are you showing?
What you mean you haven't come checked it out yourself?
I have checked out your stand. It looks really impressive. I mean, it does every year, but it really looks impressive. I like the flow and the layout, and there's a lot of good stuff there. There's some logos on there that I'm not particularly a fan of, but you've got Teams Room Solutions as well, which is great.
Well, we're happy to be here and showing a GITEX and showing a lot of solutions within the Teams environment, and certainly collaboration is in the name itself for Teams. And this year is our second big year showing up as Logitech, and you'll see kind of across our booth and experience what we call showing the new logic of work. And that's more than just a pun on our logo and our name, Logitech. To us, the new logic of work is about this time after COVID where people are working from all sorts of different places. I took a call from the airport lounge on my way here. I may be working out of home in a shared space, and I'm seeing a lot of different offices and office types when I'm in the office.
Okay.
And it's about, in this new environment of people working distributed in all sorts of new spaces, how can we deliver solutions together with partners like Microsoft Teams to make it that much more connecting and collaborating when the world looked a lot different a couple years ago? So you'll see us at the show under the new logic of work, showcase a lot of different solutions from classrooms to different sized spaces to different technologies combating the challenge of larger spaces or other types of spaces, to say how can we just bring people more in to see and hear better, to better collaborate in all these types of spaces.
And it is a challenge, right? It's not a straightforward one-size-fits-all kind of answer to that question. As any vendor who's in the space, forgive me, any vendor that's in this space will understand, you've got to tailor your solutions to the right marketplace. You've got to tailor your solutions to the right environment, physically, and from a workflow perspective as well. So what are Logitech bringing to that solution piece that really enriches the consumer's life? Let's talk about the experience for the actual user right now in a meeting room space.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked about that, because it's, I would say, not only the experience for the user, but also touch on the experience for installers and IT managers as well. For us, when we think about intuitive experiences and helping people connect and collaborate, that means a lot of simple, intuitive experiences. Means I'm not fussing about the technology. Yeah. When I'm in my Teams room, I know what buttons to press. I know how to start the meeting. I know how to control the experience I want to have. I'm a master of that experience. So we want to keep it as simple and intuitive as possible. We work pretty closely with our Microsoft Teams partners to kind of bring that experience to life. It also means when we're thinking about intelligence and AI, I know that's definitely a theme for the year in the show. How do we leverage intelligent technologies to allow people in the room to be seen and heard? Because in the end, intelligent, seamless experiences are all about that. If I'm in a large room and I'm sitting at the end of the table and people can't see me or my expressions or the way I'm talking to you, Carlos, across the table, then what's the point of the technology in the room? It's to help bring people sitting at home closer. And not only closer in terms of views, but also the sound, as we're on a podcast today, and being able to hear me clearly, and also allowing then being heard clearly, better transcripts, better meeting summaries, powering all the technology and capabilities that goes into kind of Teams collaboration or other types of collaboration. So to us, that's what a great user experience feels like, that it's simple and intuitive and brings you closer through all the backings and powers of AI.
That's good. And you mentioned a very interesting point, a very relevant point, in fact, which is not just the video, but the audio. In fact, actually, I would put audio first. We had Michelle Bowman in here yesterday from Microsoft, who is the Teams, Rooms, devices, and many, many other things. You know, he's a multifaceted individual, as I'm sure you well know. But he was making the point, and he did it quite succinctly, quite elegantly, where he said audio is probably the most important element, because if we're having a video conference of any description, we're having a call of any description, and all of a sudden the audio goes out, and when suddenly the audio comes back in, the experience there, I mean, I didn't say anything relevant whilst I had the mic away, but he made that very, very eloquent point, which is actually the experience is hugely diminished if the audio is a problem. The video we can live without. You know, we've been living without video for many, many years, right, with these things and the wired versions before that. So you seem far too young to realize what the wired versions are. You seem like a child of the wireless cordless generation. I'm a little bit longer in the tooth for sure. So I very much remember those days where you just sat at the bottom of the stairs with the curly cord and the parents' phone. So oh my god, I'm really showing my age now. I'm terrible.
Oh, come on. I know this is a podcast.
Yeah. Back on topic now, quickly. So it is important because it's not just the visual experience. Visual experience is so important now, obviously, to all consumers. We've come accustomed to at least HD, 1080p, 4K in some instances, and pretty soon it won't be that far away before 8K starts to really become relevant and prevalent within many different spheres of operation. We see already in broadcast, you can get 8K downloads, you can get 8K streaming. So it's one of those things where as technology catches up and prices drop, these things become a bit more relevant. But audio will always be at the forefront of that experience, because it's no different to these microphones we're on now. If the microphone isn't great, the audio experience is diminished. You know, we're in a very noisy environment here anyway. It's a very busy show, one of the busiest on the planet. But these are really good Shure mics. Sorry to drop in another vendor's shameless pun time again. But it's a really relevant point. So what are Logitech bringing? Because you've got new products that you're releasing, new solutions you're releasing. Obviously, for the meeting room experience, you introduced Sight, which was that was very similar to what some vendors did, but you changed the script on that a little bit. You didn't do the whole 360 because you looked at the analysis and realized it wasn't necessary from what you were doing. Obviously, the Rally Bar, Meetup, and things like that have been a mainstay of many installers, many integrators' arsenal in terms of the solutions. So what's Logitech exhibiting at the show this year that might be different?
Well, first, maybe I'll quickly touch on Sight, which we announced and introduced a while ago. You're right, Sight is a very innovative kind of tabletop companion experience. And what's latest and greatest with Sight is actually we launched our smart switching capability, which is when you pair this tabletop camera with the front of room camera. And if I'm talking to you across the table, then no matter if it's the front of room camera or the tabletop, the best perspective will be chosen so that the remote participant can see more clearly and hear more clearly too. So that's certainly something that we have a little bit at the show today and that we're excited about because we just released that.
So that's kind of, as I'm sat here talking to you, facing you, the remote participant gets that experience when we're facing the front of room camera. But suddenly I turn and Sight picks me up on this camera, or it might pick somebody else up on the other camera, which we have another one up here. You probably didn't realize that was there, actually. So surprise. But that's just to give the example for our listeners/viewers of what that really means if they haven't experienced that already.
You got it. And it took us a little bit of time to get it absolutely right because there's some kind of handoff capabilities within the intelligence to figure out that it is actually picking the right angle and the best perspective. So
it's not an easy thing to achieve, right? It's quite tricky, quite complicated. It involves a lot of intelligence in the system.
Exactly. And not only in making sure that it's picking up the right angle, but also presenting it in the right and best way for the end user. If you were to come to the booth or check out some of our materials, you'll see people in the room are kind of positioned equally in height so that you're seeing their heads kind of equally spaced throughout the different tiles we have, or kind of the multi-stream experience. So there's not only processing to make sure it's picking up the right angles and from the right camera and voices too, but also processing after that to make sure we're kind of representing people equally in the space tiles they pick up.
Yeah.
So really trying to replicate Hollywood Squares or kind of the Zoom at home experience as much as we can.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we're showing that. But that's definitely not the highlight of the show. We're just excited about bringing more capabilities to site in that multi-camera experience. But we're really excited to show this year, especially for this market in the Middle East, UAE, and for other customers around this region, is improved BYOD solutions, actually. When we're thinking about our premium experiences with site, that's one thing. But for a lot of customers out there, they're just thinking about enabling their basic rooms and smaller rooms, especially in redesigning offices where more of their teams are distributed. Just having a lot more 4 to 5 to 6 people spaces that they need to quickly and easily video enable. And so we've been tackling that challenge for the past year or two, announcing this year our updated second generation to our best-selling Meetup camera, which was developed some years ago, pre-COVID, in order to provide entry-level kind of ease and capabilities in the small room.
Been around for a little while now, so it's probably long overdue for a refresh.
Exactly.
Exciting.
And there's a lot of innovation that's happened the last couple of years, so we really wanted to innovate when it comes to intelligent capabilities. So what you were talking about earlier about sound maybe being more important than video in a lot of ways, we've brought a lot of what we call our Right Sight 2 and Right Sound 2 experiences, which are just fancy terms to say better framing and focusing and clear and crisper sound, removing echo, removing unwanted noise, keyboard clicks, etc., bringing a lot of those capabilities into our entry-level small room solution within Meetup 2.
Cool.
So refreshing it with those intelligent experiences, but also in helping IT be able to deploy a lot of these solutions quickly and easily. Thought a lot about the mounting experience and deployment experience to make it really easily suitable for all sorts of setups and environments, kind of with the claw mount design, and also incorporating it within our sync platform for management so that IT gets visibility and remote control and remote visibility.
Let's talk about sync for a second, because obviously remote management platforms are becoming much more prevalent. It almost seems like you can't move or turn your head without a manufacturer releasing a new management platform. Sync's been around for a while. It is a well-respected platform. There's definitely nothing I have negative to say about it, for sure. So what does sync really offer excuse me, the consumer in terms of a value that maybe they're not seeing somewhere else? What are we looking here in terms of the technology? How does it integrate with what's out there already in terms of other potential management devices, so sensors, etc., things like that? And again, I'm no expert with sync. I have to have a very broad overview of technologies here, so I don't dive deep into everything. So it'd be interesting to hear from you what you think sets it apart from others.
I think we're very well aware that for our managers and admins, there's a lot of management platforms, to your point. And I think we've thought about making Sync much of a complementary platform. So in terms of, let's say, the average Teams admin or Teams user, your Teams Admin Center and Pro Portals are going to do a lot for you in managing that meeting experience. And what Logitech Sync platform does is give you maybe extra dials and that extra last mile of control, if you will. So if you want to configure things at kind of the Logitech device level or at the room level, there are either extra backups for you or additional layers of insight. So for maybe the average user, you may not need it every day, but for power users or for remote troubleshooting, remote visibility, you might want to log in because it's completely free. You might want to do a little bit more of that deep dive troubleshooting, deep dive configuration and management. I'll be more specific here. For example, for a lot of users, maybe they're using pro management and have kind of remote troubleshooting. But we've heard cases where maybe Teams isn't connected via the network. It's down for some reason, or you're experiencing issues that Teams can't solve. So Logitech, through Sync, for example, you can remote UI access into the room and maybe see that extra level of control if your primary function through Teams cannot work. Or another example might be meeting occupancy. If you're asked to think about trends for how often a meeting room is being used, so that you can validate the cost and spend and budget in that
Which
room.
is really important these days, right?
Pretty important.
I mean, it has been for a while, but now we're more able to quantify what that looks like and easily manage and monitor that.
Very valuable, yes. And so there's insights beyond Teams, which is more so about in-meeting occupancy. But if someone is in a space and just huddling with their manager or having a meeting in person rather than hybrid, perhaps there's extra use cases that are happening that Logitech, through our camera detection, can sense and see without it being connected to a Teams meeting. So I think we think of it as complementary in that kind of extra last mile effort or dialing in of thinking about occupancy, thinking about remote configuration. If there are kind of fancy tools and extra developer hacks you want to do to the room to dial it in, Sync is a great companion piece.
So it's for those people really that are on Pro Management Portal already. They spend their life on there. They're monitoring the equipment constantly. This provides that additional layer of value, that additional layer of functionality that allows them to really enrich what they're doing to enhance that experience for them and for the users ultimately, which is what we're talking about here, which is fantastic. So I guess you mentioned a short while ago, really, in terms of the intelligence that you bring into your solutions, and obviously the fact that Meetup 2 now has a lot of that baked in, whereas previously you had to go through the upgrade path through to the Radibar solutions and so on. That's fantastic. It's democratizing the meeting room now, which is great. I like that. Always like that expression. It's really good. Bringing inclusivity and equity to the meeting room space.
You said it, not us.
Exactly. So for me, it's very interesting to see what every manufacturer is doing with the AI conversation, and how does Copilot play a role within that? So obviously you're developing your own AI in terms of the functionality of the optimizations within your equipment, but how does Copilot play a role in that? Obviously, Teams Rooms is Copilot enhanced, obviously. So you work very closely with Microsoft, is the point I'm making here. So it'd be interesting to get your take on where you're pulling strengths from what they're able to offer and how you're enhancing that from your side.
I think more so the latter, actually. We're really excited about where Copilot will go, not only in the personal collaboration space, but definitely in meeting rooms as well, as Microsoft defines their roadmap. So what we really want to do with Microsoft and Copilot and a lot of their AI capabilities is provide them really rich information. And information in terms of pixels and video feeds, and information in terms of clear voices, and perhaps IDing and tags, complementary to that in the future. So what we do when we think about solutions that can powerfully and best pick up all the in-room action, conversations in the room, if depending on the size of the room, like multiple perspectives and angles, we really want to power that and give that to Microsoft to do great things with their Copilot features. I'll be a bit more tangible here. So Copilot, for example, there are meeting room summaries and transcripts and potentially other capabilities like translations going down the path. Well, if voices aren't captured clearly, then I'm just going to get a jarble of different jargon in the meeting room transcript.
Yeah.
I'm going to get so-and-so said some random off word when that's really not what was intended. And that's going to escalate into poor meeting summaries and takeaways and all that. So it's really about being able to capture the right conversations and faces in action so that Copilot can do its great capabilities and figure out all its different capabilities down the line as well. Yeah. And so to us, it's about setting up a room or helping customers set up a room that is able to capture all that action clearly, crisply, so that Copilot can do all its great, wonderful features.
And that's key, isn't it? Because ultimately, as we know, when we're using any large language model like ChatGPT or when we use Copilot itself, it's only as good as the information you put into it. And that's been an adage since the beginning of technology, right? It's only as good as the of what the input is, which is so critical when you have a meeting room environment that it's able to pick up on this. And I think this is where people look at the vast array of different solutions out there. And there's very good ones and there's not so very good ones. Let's be honest. This is the difference, I think, in terms of a manufacturer like Logitech. The quality of the solution, the quality of the thinking behind it, and the engineering and development that goes into that is what sets you apart from many others. You're in a, how should we put it, rarefied air, shall we say, of a select group of vendors who can really do what you do. and do it well. So you're at the top peak of that Mount Everest pinnacle, which is great. You know, that gives our consumers, gives our partners and their customers a really good option. You know, I think this is also part of the reason why Logitech has had the success it's had in recent years, because the products it's a comprehensive portfolio. It's a really high quality portfolio as well. And it comes with a lot of features. It's a very feature rich portfolio too. So, you know, you don't need to look anywhere else, right? When you're a consumer of the technology. But beyond that, Logitech is a very good business from my experience with support. It's not just about the device working. You know, things happen, whether it's the customer's network or something else, power, who knows what happens to make things fail. But when they do, it's important that the backup is there, and Logitech is a global business that has that backup. So in terms of your services, I don't know whether you can talk about services or not, whether it's part of your remit, but it'd be interesting to see the kind of I guess the wraparound that you have. I understand there's a lot of programs on Logitech, so I don't profess to know many of them. In fairness, there's too many to understand. But where do you think your value lies in your services from your perspective?
Yeah, thanks for that. That's a lot of kind words. And I'll credit a lot of that thinking that you're thinking about of the richness of the features and the maturity of our portfolio to our DNA as a consumer-led, design-oriented company.
Yeah.
So we think a lot about ease of use, simplicity, user experience, not only for the user, but like I was saying, also for the admin as well. Mm-hmm. And so we try best as that we can work with partners and design our technology and solutions to be really simple and intuitive. But when that inevitably fails, or there's user errors, or things go down, and we know that happens, I think the experience we want people to have is trust that their technology will always be up and running, and have peace of mind that they can control that environment and help fix it. And so in terms of services and the support we offer customers, there's kind of two layers. One, which is a little newer, which we call Logitech Essential. And this is for those admins who, back to kind of our sync conversation, want to dial it in more, want to control their environments, and want to figure out how to troubleshoot issues or alleviate the situation for themselves. And what Essential is a bunch of powerful software tools within Sync, outside of Sync, to allow admins to deep dive and fix it on their own. For example, remote UI, troubleshooting, ServiceNow integrations for proactive alerts, insights into the space, like the usage trends of spaces like I was talking about. So that's one possible route for IT admins who have the capability and desire to be extra technical and troubleshoot on themselves. That's an option. But where a lot of teams don't have that bandwidth, and IT teams are being asked to do much more with much less, then we also offer comprehensive support, and you can trust that we not only know our technology, of course, but trust that we can also understand the team's environment, for example, and the some of the issues that might go wrong in our joint solutions to support organizations to always have their devices and spaces be up and running. And it offers things between product coverage, warranties, express kind of lines of support, and just all the bells and whistles and white glove service to make sure that you have trust and reliability with us, and you don't need to call anyone else. So those are kind of the extra options we provide users who really care about certain spaces and want to make sure that certain spaces, maybe like executive rooms or boardrooms or off-site remote campuses, are always up and running.
Fantastic. I think there's so much more that we could talk about, Holly. Wish we had more time. Unfortunately, it's a very truncated schedule. Lots of people want to get in this space and say their part, and we've carried many vendors, as you know. So, but look, I want to say thank you. It's been really insightful. Very grateful for you being here, and look forward to the next one, hopefully.
Thank you, Carlos. It's been great to speak with you and to be at this show, and I'm so energized by what I see, and I'm excited for what we'll do to help collaboration and connection more.
Excellent. Here's to 2025 then.
Cheers to that.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.